Hey, it's your girl Jaden, and I'm here to say thank you so much for tuning into my very first video. I highly appreciate it. Now let's jump right in. Today I'm going to be showing you how I turned these two plain extra large t-shirts into this banging color block twisted crop top. So first things first, you're going to want to take your tailor's chalk and you're going to want to mark out where you want your shirt to end. After I measured out where I want my hem to be, I take my shirt over to my sewing desk, and what I'm going to do now is lengthen the mark so that it's easier to cut and I have a nice straight hemline all the way through. And then you're just going to take your shears and cut down the line that you made to create your cropped top. Now, this next step is optional. I'm taking my seam ripper and I'm just going to rip open all the seams and remove the sleeves and the collar from the shirt. So we're just going to take our seam ripper and we're going to go around the entire seam of the armhole, around the entire collar, and around the entire seam of the other armhole. Again, seam ripping is optional. You can elect to cut out your sleeves and your collar because you're just going to be cutting everything anyway. I chose to seam rip because I wanted to maximize the amount of fabric that I would be getting. While I was doing this project, I had a couple of different ideas that didn't end up working out, so I ended up sticking with my original idea of a sleeveless twisted crop tank. But again, that's the beauty of free will. You can kind of do whatever you'd like. If you'd like to seam rip, go for it. If not, definitely cut all this out because seam ripping is a lot more time consuming. And now I'm just seam ripping off my seam binding. Okay, so now that I've got both of my sleeves seam ripped off, I'm going to start on my collar. So once you've seam ripped away your sleeves and your collar on both your tan and your neon pink shirt, or whatever color shirts you choose to use, you want to separate the back from the front on each of your shirts. And I didn't show this part, but it's super simple. You just start by cutting open the side of the shirt and the shoulder seam to create a front piece and a back piece. And then you're going to take your two front pieces and you're going to cut right down the middle. I know my pieces are a little uneven right now, but it's okay. We're going to sew them right up and you won't even be able to tell. what you see me doing here is I'm just lining up my back pieces, and I'm going to take my front pieces, and I just want to get the width of the shirt correct. You can use a template, like you can use a crop top that you already have that you like the fit of, and you can just lay it on top. I'm just going to take this front piece though and lay it right on top just so that I have the correct width. And also I want to know where my armhole stops. And then you're going to take your two back pieces and do the exact same thing. Just cut them right down the middle. So now that we've got our front and back pieces all cut out, we're going to start arranging them. I'm taking one of the pink pieces from the front and matching it with the opposite tan piece. So if your right panel is pink in the front, you want your left panel to be tan, and vice versa for the back of your top to get that color block effect. I apologize for the shoddy camera work here. I didn't feel like setting up my tripod and or moving any of the items in the way, so I just filmed it on hand and arranged my top with the other. So after you have your panels arranged to your liking, we're just going to pin down the seams and then sew a straight stitch to connect them. Now that your panels are attached, you should have a full front piece and a full back piece. So now we're going to start constructing our top. Just like with most typical sewing projects, we want to sew right sides facing. So I'm laying the back of my top with the right side up, and I'm going to lay the front of my top right side down. So essentially my top is inside out if all the seams were sewn together. Here you'll see me twisting my shirt so I can get that twist effect in the front. What I'm going to do is pin the right shoulder seam and the right side seam, and then I'm going to twist the front of the top twice so that my left shoulder seam aligns, and then you're going to pin down your left shoulder seam and your left side seam, and you just serge along everywhere you pinned. So again, after you've got everything aligned, you want to take your pins and pin your shoulder seam, pin your side seam, and then you're going to do the same thing to the other side. So now that I've got everything aligned and pinned, I'm just going to head over to my serger and serge it down. Just a quick note for anybody who works with sergers, I worked with my blade up so as not to cut off any extra seam allowance. I cut the shirt to my liking, and I didn't want to cut off that seam allowance because the serger was going to clean up those raw edges anyway. Et voila, that is how I made my twisted color block crop top. As you can see, I am a firm advocate of the tummies and jeans movement. But thanks again for watching, you guys. If you try this out, make sure to tag me on IG at designbyj.danae, and be sure to comment, like, and subscribe to catch me in the next one. Okay? Bye, guys.